Why was I letting fear make all of my biggest decisions for me? Why? I ask myself that so often, and I'm sure you have too. Welcome to Wandering the Wild Mess with me, Heather Morgan. I'm so happy you're here. Today, I want to dive into something that I feel like, unfortunately, dictates a lot of our lives today, or probably for many, many years. But I think it's coming more and more apparent the more I interact with people how much fear prevents us from doing things that we want to do, things that we feel called to do, things that we're excited about and passionate about. There's so much external noise and internal dialogue saying, can you? And it's really not allowing us to be who we want to be. So, if you've listened just a little, I changed my entire life recently, about a year and a half ago, when I left my life in Utah and everything I've ever known, the marriage, the house, and then later the corporate fancy title that I had worked so hard to obtain, thinking that that's what I wanted. And it was safe, right? That's the safe thing to do. Climb the corporate ladder. No one's going to say, "What are you thinking?" That's a safe bet. So you think you just have to win. It's the right choice. But what I learned once I got there is that it wasn't at all what I wanted. I had made that decision because what I really wanted to do, I was too afraid. And I think so many of us can relate to that in life, whether it's fear of judgment of others, it's fear of putting yourself out there, of failing, of having people see you try. There's so much that gets wrapped up into doing what you want to do that prevents you from doing it. And there was a point in time in my life, although I knew I did it often in many of my decisions, I remember once someone telling me, well, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to, but just know that the time will pass either way. And at that point in time, I had made a decision that scared me and I followed through with that. And I was so proud of myself. But it didn't translate to every other aspect of my life. Sometimes you need to remind yourself that, yes, it's scary, but it's not that serious. And the time is going to pass either way. I learned pretty young in my early 20s that losing someone you love can change your mind about a lot of things. And when I lost my dad, I made a lot of decisions about my life based on what I thought I should do because of his death. When I look back, I stayed in the relationship that would end up being the one I had with my husband, right? The person that I was with at the time. I had this mindset that, and it was really a fear when I look back at it, that I had to be with and marry someone that knew my father because I was afraid that I would forget how he was. And I wanted to be able to speak to someone that knew how he was about him. It's kind of wild that I had that underlining fear. And although I think absolutely valid in that moment, as I learned through life, I realized that was not really a reason to spend my life with someone. And I'm not here saying that was the only reason, but that definitely factored into my decision to stay. And I think sometimes we create these false fears, and I call them false because we think that, but we don't really know because we haven't really tried to see what it would be like any other way. So we create these false fears that say, no, if you do that, it'll be scary. If I don't end up with someone that doesn't know and never met my father, then it will be scary because I will want to talk about him and they won't know. But really, I know. And why is that so important? I think a lot of things in life we do that. It's why I took the safe route and went and climbed the corporate ladder, even though a younger me as a songwriter went to LA and thought that's exactly what she was gonna do, and then got there and was so intimidated by all of the talented people and everything that came along with trying to be a songwriter. I just didn't dare to go all in on I just decided for myself it was too scary and working a corporate job would be the better fit, but it didn't make me happy. It just made me feel temporarily safe. Safe in the comfort, and the comfort being something I didn't want, but something that I knew. Oftentimes, we stay in places we don't want to be because they're comfortable. Even when we don't feel great there, even when we want to see what's outside of the place that we're in, even when it feels miserable, but we're comfortable because we know what to expect. Chaos is really uncomfortable. And that's kind of why I've learned to enjoy it so much because you just don't know what will happen. But instead of being afraid of chaos and afraid of not knowing what will happen, what if that is the most exciting thing about life? What if the repetition of daily life sometimes needs to be stirred up because you want it to? Because that's not the life you want to live. I think it's much more courageous to look within and say, I'm not happy here, and I'm willing to change everything I've ever known to start anew. I honestly never would have thought I would be that person, but I've learned so much by doing that I feel so called to share that with others and say, look, you can too. There's never a point in time where everything's going to make sense and you're going to get it. I can promise you that. I thought for so long that as soon as this, I will get it and I won't have to be afraid anymore. Everything will just make sense. And that point in time just never ended up coming. And so when we're waiting around to take the leap or to be happy or to try a new thing, we're really just giving our now away. And now is really all we have. That was another thing that really came to light after losing my father is that we don't really know how long we have. If you think about it, he passed away at 49. So his midlife was like 25. I guarantee you he had no idea at 25 that he wouldn't make it to 50. But I know that he would have been proud of the impression he made on the world with his light. So I say all that to say is that we don't really know how much time we have. So it's not really worth it. We're gambling thinking that we have all this time and we can wait any longer to do the things we want to do as if it's a currency that will never run out. But it does. And the craziest part about it is that you don't know when. So if you're if you're living your life like you're down to your last dollar, they always say, okay, if you only have 10 days left to live, 1 day left to live, but it's almost like, okay, you have one more dollar to spend. What do you want to do? Because fear is literally the thing that stops most people from doing what they wanna do. But I think fear goes away when you don't have that much time left. There's nothing left to fear. But we always don't know how much time we have left. So we should live like we don't have that much left. And I'm so grateful that there is this outlet for me to say this to y'all because maybe you've heard it a million times, but I want it to stick. Because what I hope that we can do together when we wander this wild mess is realize that no one in life has it figured out. There's not an age in which you go, oh my gosh, that's it. Now I have it. Believe me, I've talked to enough people from all different age groups, and no one knows what they're doing. If they say they do, they're making that up. It's all pretend. They don't really know. There's not this book of life, and you're supposed to do it this way. And thank goodness there's not, because we're all not supposed to do life the exact same way. We all don't have to just go to college, buy a house, get married, have a whole bunch of children, and work our 9 to 5s and then die. We can do all of those things or we can do some of those things. We're definitely going to die. So we might as well pick all of the things we want to do in between and let them just be us. That's literally our magic, is we're the only one of us. We're the only unique person that's just like us with all of our experiences. And we all don't have the same ideas. So when we have this great idea or we are inclined to do something different that we really want to do, we should do it, because the likelihood that everyone else is thinking that exact same thing and doing it that exact same way, no, it's not. That's not how art is. No one's making the exact same work of art. That's why they're unique, right? Everything that we do, those thoughts, when we say, oh, we can't do that, I'm scared, we're taking away that art, that gift, that desire from the rest of the world to even see and love and enjoy. So, if not for ourselves, which should be the most important person, but I get how it's hard to sometimes inwardly think about yourself and go, I'm doing this for me. Think of who might need what you have uniquely to offer. That's why I'm doing this podcast. It's more than me. I feel like someone needs to hear what I've learned, what I have to say. And if it's just one person that it resonates with and it changes the trajectory of their life, I am here for it, because sometimes you just need that one thing, that one person, that one piece of art, that one moment to go, that's what I need to do. I've got to change my life today. And that's the beauty about sharing your unique light. Everyone has different perspectives. They see what you're doing through a different lens. And it's important to put fear aside and just go with it. I hope you can do that. I hope this motivates you to not let fear make any more of your decisions. I understand maybe not being impulsive and maybe doing your due diligence and understanding and do some research. I'm not just saying dive into every single thing, although preferably I would love to be that way. But I'm saying if it's just what ifs, you're really just driving yourself crazy and giving yourself excuses. If you want to do it, just do it. Your biggest limitation is your mindset. When we change our mindset from can I to how do I, it's a whole game changer. And that's when things start to happen. So that's my message to you. Whatever you want to do, don't let fear decide. If you want to do it, think, how do I make it happen? And that's it. And you don't even have to have all the details. You don't even have to have a perfectly mapped out project plan. Because I'll tell you from years in corporate America, you could think you have all of the ways to get this project done. And as you go through life, the project, you see that you couldn't anticipate everything that's getting in your way or every roadblock. So you have to be open to go with the flow and pivot to the different things that are given to you, all the different challenges you face. The end of the day, the project still has to get done. The thing that you're passionate about still has to happen. If you really want it, it can happen, but you can't be married to every little way and how you think it's going to happen. You have to be flexible and allow yourself to pivot and take new opportunities and take new paths as you work towards obtaining the thing that you want most. And every time that something doesn't go as planned, don't let fear be a roadblock because you've already let it go. That's why you started the plan. That's why you had the vision. So don't let it creep back in and dictate any of the decisions you make. You can be calculated, you can be thoughtful, you can be diligent, but you don't have to give up because of what ifs. What will people think? What if I fail? I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you absolutely can. And I'm just here to remind you of that. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. Why let fear decide? Until next time, we'll wander the wild mess.